oh, I have to eat less crave at the next meal. I want you to think about adding more lean and more detox to the next meal. Welcome to Cravings Control for Fat Loss. I'm your host, Laura Cavallo, former sugar binger, overeater, and yo-yo dieter turned fat loss and cravings coach for hundreds of busy women. Here at Cravings Control for Fat Loss, I'll be sharing mindset, movement, and metabolism strategies for those who are ready to ditch the fat diet cycle and slim down without counting calories, tracking points, or giving up any of the foods they love. Get ready to embrace progress over perfection, grace over guilt, and bring curiosity and learning to the inevitable ups and downs of your life. Expect a decrease in your cravings while seeing and feeling an improvement in how you look, how you feel, and your overall quality of life. I am so excited you're here, boo. Let's get started. Welcome to another episode of Cravings Control for Fat Loss. My name is Laura Cavallo, your cravings coach, and today is the third part of the Satisfull plate series where I go through the different components of a Satisfull plate, and today we've landed on our favorite, crave. This is the shit that gives you the yum yums, the good goods, the satisfaction factor. It makes you feel comforted. It makes you feel satisfied. It makes you feel full and happy. Crave foods are any foods that are not strictly a protein food or a veggie or a fruit, okay? And the portion size of these is going to be a smaller size than what we're normally used to. Crave can be a carbohydrate source or a fat source. It can be a processed foods like candy or chips, or it can even be alcohol. But again, we're going to enjoy it in a smaller portion size than what we normally would. Prioritizing first eating the lean and the detox on our plate. As you can see, there's a range of foods that fall under this category, right? With varying nutritional densities, meaning that a whole wheat piece of toast, while it's a crave food, it's going to have a lot more fiber and whole grains in it than, say, a donut, which is also a crave food. So it can be helpful to understand where certain crave foods fall in the way of nutritional density, okay? And I'm going to go through that with you here right now. So I want you to think about a line in front of you, okay? And there's an arrow on that line on either side. Those arrows are moving along the length of the horizon, right? They're expanding, they're shrinking, they're expanding, and they're shrinking. On one end of that arrow, I want you to think about more nutrient-dense crave foods, okay? When we talk about nutrient-dense crave foods, we consider them to have more fiber, more vitamins, more minerals, more nutrients. They're going to be a little bit closer to more whole foods or how they were grown with less processing than some other foods. Now, of course, some of these more whole foods are also going to have a level of processing, right? To get them to the consumer, to get them to you. On the other end of this arrow, we're going to have less nutrient-dense foods, which means they're going to have less fiber and less nutrients. They're going to be more stripped of those elements that we want to look for on our nutrition labels, okay? These are considered processed foods, ultra-processed foods, where we're not getting any fiber, we're not getting any protein, or maybe very minimal. We're not getting any healthy fats. We're looking mostly at saturated fats, we're looking at sugar in here, or alcohol. So on this continuum, when we're looking at crave foods and we have more nutrient-dense crave foods, we're looking at things like, if we're talking about carbohydrates, things like oats, beans, whole grains, quinoa, sweet potatoes, rice, farro, millet, lentils, barley, ton of fiber, vitamins, minerals. They're still carbs, right? But these, on contrast to maybe the other end of the crave continuum with less fiber, less nutrients, we're going to think about things like cereal and chips and candy and soda, maybe frozen meals. This is often going to be things that are more ultra processed. Really, the form of them has changed or been developed as a result of having to package them and get them to you. Okay. So we want to prioritize more of these nutrient-dense foods, but it's not to say we can't have some of these crave foods once in a while. Okay. That's the stuff that is yum yum. Right? We like that stuff. We like having some cookies and we like having some candy and some soda and some chips, right? Now, continue to picture this continuum, right? This straight line with two arrows on each side, wavering back and forth, smaller to bigger, smaller to bigger. We also have fats that are considered a CRAVE component. There are 4 different types of fats: polyunsaturated, monounsaturated, trans, and saturated fats. When we're putting together Satisfull plates, we want to prioritize our mono and polyunsaturated fats. These are going to be things like fish, seeds, nuts, nut butters, olives, and even olive oils. In addition, you're going to get some other seed oils like soybean oil, corn oil, and even some salad dressings, which you can enjoy in moderation. On the other end of the fat spectrum, we have things like saturated fat, which is higher fat meats like beef and poultry and whole milk dairy. And then even beyond that, we have trans fats, things like packaged goods, chips, margarine, and some animal products. We want to try and limit trans and saturated fats, which increase our risk of LDL cholesterol, which is the quote unquote bad cholesterol. So trying to pull from foods that fall in the mono and polyunsaturated fat is going to be better for heart health and our bodies overall. However, that's not to say that if you have a cut of steak or you have a bag of chips, it's going to be the end of the world. Remember, we want to enjoy CRAVE foods in moderation, and you can do that even with saturated and trans fats. However, I do recommend having things like nuts, flax seeds, hemp seeds, chia seeds, olive oil, olives, avocados, and fatty fish like salmon at home, and making sure that you're including those as part of a cravey diet in your day-to-day. So we want to prioritize more of the nutrient-dense foods, okay? And the foods that we want to limit and eat less often are the ones kind of on the other side of the continuum, right? The donuts, the chips, the cookies, the cakes, or at least have them in smaller portion sizes. And this is also going to include alcohol, because alcohol is a poison to the body. It's not going to help with cravings. It's not going to help with fat loss. It's going to make things harder. Again, I'm not demonizing any of these foods. I eat chocolate every day, okay? If I had cookies at home, I'd have a cookie every single day, okay? I'm not demonizing them. I want you to understand that not all CRAVE foods are created equal, okay? Some of these foods are going to have more nutritional value, while others aren't going to have as much of the nutritional value that we want. Does it mean that it's wrong to have a small bag of chips with your sandwich and your side salad? Absolutely not, okay? But being aware is also really important in your cravings and fat loss journey. So as we get into some tips with CRAVE, I want to give you one more thing to think about. If you are someone that likes volume food, like you like to have a lot more food, you like to eat a lot more food, like this is me for sure. I love prioritizing more carbs on my plate because I get more bang for my buck. I get more food on my plate relative to the amount of calories. So things like oats, beans, potatoes, rice, this stuff's going to keep me real full. If you're someone that likes more like quality foods, like more decadent foods, like more creamy, rich, tasty foods like fats, right? Like cheese and olives and avocados and butter, and you're more of this sort of savory type of person, when you include fats as your CRAVE, I want you to keep in mind that fats are more calorie dense than carbs, okay? Fats are going to have 9 calories per gram of food versus carbs have 4 calories per gram of food. So almost twice, a little bit more than double that calorie. So meaning if I have the same amount of food per volume, same amount of volume of avocado on one hand, and on the other hand, I have bread, and they weigh the same, the avocado is going to have a higher calorie amount because it's more energy dense. There's more calories packed into a smaller amount of space. Okay, so if you are going to be eating fats, enjoy them in smaller portions. That's why I said if you're someone that enjoys more of this decadent, creamy, quality type of food, then you might do well with having more of these fats as your CRAVE. If you're someone that likes more volume, you like to eat more food, you might want to prioritize more carbs so that you're getting more volume in your stomach. Okay, so we'll make that like tip number 1. Okay. Tip number 2 is if you have more CRAVE foods at one meal, If you happen to have more pasta at one meal, or you happen to have, a whole bunch of guacamole, which is avocado, at another meal, I don't want you to think about, oh, I have to eat less crave at the next meal. I want you to think about adding more lean and more detox to the next meal. Okay, so upping that lean, upping that detox. This is, again, going back to that mindset of adding things into your diet, not feeling like you have to pull away and restrict. Hey there, boo. I'm excited to share that registration is open for the free 7-day Cravings Cleanup Challenge, a nutrition challenge to help you reduce mindless snacking, afternoon cravings, and nighttime overeating by up to 50% using one simple habit. If you're someone who has tried to use willpower, self-control, not keeping foods in the house, just having water or healthy food swaps, and they haven't worked, then this program is for you. This will be the 6th round of the Cravings Cleanup Challenge, and we've helped nearly 80 women so far. I want to invite you to join them and take the first step in your cravings and fat loss journey without the gimmicks, without the fads, and without the stress. Click the link below to save your spot. We start Sunday, February 11th and go through Sunday, February 18th. I can't wait to see you there. The third tip is that if you have multiple crave options on your plate and that you're eating, like you have a glass of wine and there's some bread and some cheese, that's fine. You can have multiple crave portions, but you want to limit how much you're having of each one. So if you usually have 2 pieces of Italian bread, have 1. If you usually mindlessly eat a bunch of cheese, this is a good time to practice crave and go. Plate yourself a couple slices of cheese and then sip slow on that wine so that you're not overeating, you're not overdoing it. The fourth tip, and this is going to be helpful for anyone that's exercising and strength training, is when you're trying to get fueled up for a pre or post workout meal, I want you to prioritize carbs as your crave for pre and post workout. So things like potatoes, rice, any sort of starch. Okay, that is going to give you the energy that you need. Oatmeal for your workout. Okay, try and limit fats pre and post workout. You don't want to go into a workout having eaten an avocado toast. Okay, you don't want to go into a workout having eaten, 6 spoonfuls of peanut butter. Especially if you're trying to do some sort of strength training, you need some quick energy. Fats are going to slow down the rate of digestion and can make you feel a little bit sluggish. Now, it's not the same for everyone. Just test it out. But in general, try and have some quick acting carbs pre and post workout. The last tip, and maybe the most important, is that Satisfull plates can help you break the all or nothing dieting mindset with some of your favorite crave foods. Don't be afraid to have the muffin or have the cookie or have the piece of bacon or have the little Debbie cake, okay? Or have the crackers or have the cheese or have the kids' animal crackers. It's okay. But enjoy them as part of a Satisfull meal, as a Satisfull plate. Okay, when we enjoy crave foods, we want to have them in a smaller portion than what we usually would and prioritize that lean and detox on our plate. This is an opportunity for you to learn how to enjoy your favorite foods without feeling like you have to give them up, without being in fear, without feeling like you're going to overeat them. This is the recipe for success. This is how you can control cravings for the long term. This is how you can maintain your weight and even learn to slim down using Satisfull plates. It's not about taking crave out. It's about keeping crave in a way that you're moderating it, you're still enjoying it, and you're feeling satisfied. I hope this episode was helpful. I want to know what questions you have. I know this was really dense. I know there was a lot of information. I know it was a little nuanced, right? We've got the continuum in there. Some foods are more nutrient dense, some are less. I know there might be some questions. That's fine. Send me a message on Instagram. I want to hear from you. Let me know what questions you have, and I will see you on the last and final part of Satisfull Plates number 4, Observe. Thank you so much for listening, and I will chat with you soon.